Hey, my name's Tessa Ray Nelson, and I'm just going to explain this art therapy session that I went ahead and planned out. And this is just the introduction page. So it has my name, the school that I go to, the class, the professor, and the date. All right. Perfect. All right. So this is designed for a hypothetical client. So somebody in particular that is not real, but I just created it for this person. And so Susie is a woman in her mid-30s. She has three young children, and she's recently given birth to her youngest child. She has started to engage in ritualistic and compulsive behavior. She has been diagnosed with OCD. Susie's oldest child recently turned 8 years old, causing Susie to remember and relive traumatic memories. When she was 8, her younger sister was hit by a car and passed away. Susie took the blame for this incident on herself, and she just hasn't really quite worked through all of the emotions that came with that incident. And since giving birth, Susie has been overcome with memories of the incident and unresolved trauma, and this feeds into her OCD. And she's struggling also with postpartum challenges that exacerbates her struggling mental health. All right. And so the first thing in expressive arts therapy that I felt like was really important to go over was like identifying a safe space to do the art therapy. Um, the focus on Susie's compulsive behavior is harm to one of her children. She cannot be away from them without experiencing intense anxiety and trauma. All these sessions will take place at Susie's home and in her backyard. She has identified her garden as a place of comfort. She feels confident there and at peace. Her favorite hobby is gardening. Having sessions in her garden will also serve as minor exposure therapy because she still will be at home, but she'll be away from the kids, and participating in sessions where her needs are the focus. Her spouse will watch the children while she participates in the expressive arts. This means that her sessions are usually going to take place in the evening or on a weekend, so that way he won't be at work or they won't be at work. All right. And then with establishing relational trust with a client, in McCaldy's writings, he expressed that the importance of reparations through relationships. He explained that many traumatized individuals have challenges with relationships and attachment, and they see attachment as unsafe. And these challenges with attachment can even cause difficulties in a psychotherapeutic relationship with like a counselor and then a client as well. Susie may also have concerns with judgment and may feel silly or childish when using expressive arts, because this also often happens with clients. These feelings may reduce trust and feelings of safety during the therapy, just because it's either through societal messaging or our inner critic that kind of halts the process of creating that relational trust or sense of safety when we're doing that expression as well. All right. And so to establish relational trust and rapport, I will inquire about her experiences with expressive arts and use some psychoeducation to explain that this therapy focuses on expression and not perfection. I will also, and so that way that kind of hopefully helps limit down the feelings of mistrust or like feelings of being silly that she might have because the focus is not on perfection of art. I will also encourage Susie to begin using a medium she is more comfortable with. So markers, paint, crayons, color pencils, and oil pastels will be provided. And I'll just let her pick and, decide how she wants to conduct herself through the session and what medium she wants to use. I would ask her if there's anything in the environment that is making her uncomfortable, and then if possible, those objects will be removed from the environment. I will also go over various activities planned for the session to establish predictability, flow, and encourage Susie to make choices or raise concerns if they arrive or when they arrive. All right, so creating some sensory comfort. I'm going to talk about grounding for a minute. Grounding is a way to help clients manage traumatic and anxiety-provoking memories. It brings a person back into the moment and helps them reconnect to their body. So with Susie, I would identify some sensory-based methods to help refine her sensory comfort level during the session. And I would also use this to establish a baseline of comfort at the beginning of the session as well. So like if she is having a hard time or might be having a hard time getting into the therapy, it would be a good way to like help her find that comfortable baseline and where she wants to be at that base before she moves into processing things. In case Susie does become overwhelmed or experiences hyper or hypoarousal, we can do a quick grounding activity to help her refocus and bring her back into her body. So these are just some possible grounding techniques, which yoga is a really good one to help stimulate polyvagal theory and that nerve as well. Going through the 5 senses to help reconnect into the moment, breathing, muscle tightening and relaxing, visualization, temperature change. I added gardening specifically for her, but that would also consider be like a texture change if we were able to move into something where she can feel the ground or the dirt or like the plants around her. And then body movement. And I think the body movement could be also used to like yoga, gardening, even dance if that's something that she would be comfortable with. All right. So accommodating multiple intelligences. So there are mainly 9 types of intelligences. And I've like she's already mentioned that she really likes gardening, so I decided to kind of hone in on the naturalist intelligence, and I'm hoping that will help her connect with nature around her, and that I would incorporate gardening as a grounding based technique to help her maintain her sensory baseline. If gardening cannot be done due to challenges with weather, or if she's in like my office, body kinesthetic methods would be used instead, like meditation and breathing exercises. And so that was the other one that I added from the multiple intelligences. And acknowledgement of choice and pacing exposure. So like many clients who have experienced trauma feel that they've had a lack of choice in their lives, or they become overwhelmed by the idea of making choices. So like it can be 2 of them. Either it could also be possible for them to have both of these feelings at different times in their wellness journey. So like whether they don't have choices or whether there's just too many, it becomes overwhelming. So demanding that clients talk or draw about trauma can be damaging. However, encouraging the client to express themselves in a pace and time that makes sense for them can help build rapport, establish safety, and help the client heal. And that's directly from McCaldy's book. And so during my sessions with Susie, I will encourage her to share or draw what she feels comfortable sharing. I will include check-ins through the session to make sure that she's not experienced feelings of intense anxiety or depression. And if she has, then we can go back to those grounding techniques to help bring her back into the moment. I will also encourage the use of choice during different aspects of the session. So like I will ask Susie at the beginning of each session if she'd like to start with talk therapy, grounding, or like utilizing expressive arts. I believe that this will help encourage empowerment for her and self-direction because she would be able to pick what she needs in the moment. So like if she's had like a really, really rough week at one point, we can start the session by just kind of helping her decompress about the week. Or maybe we could also start with grounding if she's feeling like the OCD is kicking in or she's having traumatic memories, just to kind of get recentralized. I also will encourage her to once again pick what modalities she'd like to use when completing projects, like paint, colored pencils, crayons, that kind of thing, anything that I have at my disposal. So establishing structure and maintaining predictability while maintaining choice, I felt like was really important. So like for the start, for each week Susie and I meet, I like to have a predictable structure to the session to encourage comfort, but I don't want it to be so rigid that it ignores her needs for the sake of structure. And each session I will begin by asking Susie about her week, establishing if she wanted to talk about anything. I will then transition the session to work on grounding or to lead to therapy based on art therapy, based on what Susie's preferences are. I will also inquire if there is anything in the room that needs to be removed because it makes her uncomfortable. And then I will encourage Susie to pick between the 2 different art-based activities that I'll have prepared to help her feel comfortable with her expressions. So like for the initial session, I will utilize the body mapping template or the tree of life activity. After she's completed the expressive arts activity, we would spend time talking about what different symbols mean to her and what she was trying to express through her art. We will go over how she is feeling in her body while she completed the art as well. And so after the activity, I will lead us into grounding techniques, because usually after talking about, different symbols, it might bring up different, memories that are hard or challenging. And so this will most often be used through gardening, although other methods will be applied if there is bad weather or if she is like completing the activity where we're not in the garden or it's not like available. And then I will end this session by checking in with Susie and inquiring if she needs to talk about anything or if she feels the need to express more. If so, I will engage in some more talk therapy and allow her to express herself and her needs and concerns. And then once we have talked about them, I will utilize a short grounding technique and reschedule just for the next appointment. All right, so these were the 2 expressive art therapies that I was going to do for the initial session. I really, really liked the Tree of Life one to talk about uh, hopes and goals, important people in your life, and it goes through each part of the tree and like what it means. And there are just instructions to the side. Or I will let her pick the body mapping activity where it has you trace out your hands and your feet and put different like symbols or sayings in on the person to kind of like encourage some expression there as well. Both of them are very much based in like roots. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? And I felt like that was a really good way to start an initial session with her. And then, of course, the identifying the window of tolerance is going to be extremely important. Because art therapy can bring up a lot of feelings of hyperarousal, intense anxiety, or hypoarousal, and just kind of like shutting down. It can encourage her to feel unsafe, and she may embrace some OCD tendencies by believing that her family is unsafe as well. So there's different things going on. She may feel unsafe. She may feel that her family is unsafe. So like there's a lot of things that she can feel that can cause some anxiety, or she could just also just emotionally shut down as well. This may cause her to feel stuck when she shuts down in a certain moment and unable to like express herself. And so if this occurs and Susie demonstrates signs of being shut down or panicked, I will use distancing language by asking her projection questions that will give her the space needed to process her trauma. And when I say distancing questions, it means things like, oh, what would your anxiety say to you if it could say something right now? Something that just puts like in space in between the person. And it changes things from a first person narrative to a third person narrative, so it doesn't feel so personal. And then highlighting mastery is something that is really important, and I'm not really sure if it can be done in the first session. I think it can be hinted at, but I feel like to highlight mastery, what I would do is I would have routine sessions that emphasize client empowerment throughout while I'm working with her. This could be done by having reviews with Susie on what techniques have worked, but we could also explore old growth by looking at current change, reviewing old artistic pieces that she has created. McCaldy emphasized the importance of helping a client regain control over their lives through choices that led to self-efficacy. And pointing these aspects out as an art therapist may increase confidence and demonstrate to the client their achievement, which is why I provide so many options for choices in my sessions, because I feel like that being like pointing out me like, oh, look at this choice that you made and how it helped you this point in time will be a really great way to kind of connect things together and demonstrate confidence in their own abilities. And then identifying psychoeducation. So during the initial session with Susie, once again, I would kind of explain that the goal of expressive arts therapy, that I would let her know that it's not about how well a person can draw, but it's completely about self-expression and like I am getting in tune with yourself. I'd also explain the importance of like grounding-based work to reconnect a person to their environment when they are feeling overstimulated or overwhelmed by trauma and activities that are done in therapy. And then this is my bibliography and all the sources that I used to inform myself. A lot of them also are in the bibliography, I also added like where I retrieved the pictures from that I used during this PowerPoint so that they're cited correctly as well in APA. All right, well, I appreciate you watching my video and I hope that you enjoyed. And you guys have a wonderful day.